Could Keith Thurman really have beat Errol Spence if they would have fought? Let's talk about it. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, next subscribe button, bell icon button, hit all notifications, increase your chance, get notifications. We go live or drop a video. So, could Keith Thurman really have beat Errol Spence? I mean, a lot of people gonna say, well, Keith Thurman ain't Terence Crawford, and I definitely understand what Terence Crawford did. Keith Thurman probably couldn't have done. But I think Keith Thurman perpetual movement, and Keith Thurman carried a punch, maybe he would have had some success versus Errol Spence. That's what I'm thinking. At one point, when they was coming up, I just thought Keith was too much. But Keith was on a different level, though, as a fighter. Obviously, he had been on HBO. He had won a title or two or had the Reggie belt or whatever. But, that athleticism that, Errol Spence showed, that Terence Crawford showed, Keith Thurman can't really sit in there. And he would have probably allowed Errol Spence to push him back and cut the ring off. But in the first 5 or 6 rounds, y'all want to say in that peak for peak or later on in their career, in the first 5 or 6 rounds, Keith Thurman would have been very dangerous to Errol Spence. Very dangerous. But the problem that Keith Thurman had that Terence Crawford did was that, Terence Crawford coming back with 3 or 4 different punches, and he changing the speeds of the shots. And he coming up underneath with uppercuts and stuff of that nature. That's the difference. And with Errol Spence, with Terence Crawford, he could throw every punch imaginable. And Crawford he didn't use unnecessary movement versus Errol Spence. He moved just enough. His defense was on point. And with Keith Thurman, sometimes his defense ain't bad, but it could be better. His best defense is his feet. And he do load up on the shot, so Crawford just let them shots flow. That's the difference. Crawford just allowed them shots just to go in there and in the flow. He allowed them shots to go in. He let the shots flow. He could pick his shots. Keith Thurman like to come around with the left and the right hook. Terence Crawford can throw straight punches, jabs, all that stuff. But the movement and the power would have been very, 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 very key. And could Errol Spence really cut the ring off on him? And he did close the gap on Bud a couple times. Bud just was prepared to counter punch, and Bud knew how to change positions, and he was strong enough to keep Errol up off of him. Now, can Keith be strong enough to do the same thing? Is the actual question. But that would have been a very interesting fight, because Keith's speed, would have caused a lot of problems. Keith's speed would have caused a lot of problems early on, but down the stretch, if Errol could take the power and Errol could keep coming on, Errol would have to rally back, get a knockdown or two, or knock him out. But, that just looking at that Crawford matchup, I was thinking about, afterwards, because I seen Keith talking to Leo Santa Cruz, and, just thinking, Keith Thurman probably can't get him right now. Obviously, if we seen what happened. If people say, well, he ain't Bud, or, no, he not. But he can do some things. He can do some things that Bud, he can do some things his own special way. For sure. The one thing about Bud, he threw combination punches to get by the high guard, and that's what you got to do with guys who utilize that high guard. Punch around the guard, and you got to punch those combinations, because it's hard to counter out of the high guard and stuff. So, but I think that matchup, just even if the Crawford fight didn't happen, Keith Thurman would have a chance today. I think he would have a good chance. I think he would have a damn good chance. Everybody think he gonna hit him in the stomach, he gonna stop him, Errol. I mean, Keith Thurman carry a punch too, still. He don't come back with 3 or 4 punches like Crawford did. And I think Errol Spence probably can handle the 1-2 punches that's coming. The hooks around the guard, And then, you know, then can Keith take away his jab is the question, because Keith don't like to throw the jab. Keith is going to try to counter his jab and come over the top. That's what Keith going to do. Use movement, try to get his foot outside of Errol lead foot and come around that high guard with hooks. And I think that's what Keith Thurman be coming up short at. He be trying to hook with people when he should be jabbing and throwing the 1-2 sometimes, especially going against the southpaw. Especially going against the southpaw. But that matchup, you know, it's still interesting now. It's still interesting. It's still a very, very interesting matchup. You know, and I think, you know, and I think Keith got a chance, because Keith was at one point now. Errol hadn't fought nobody with athleticism for real. And don't think that ain't by design. That's by matchmaking. It's the reason why they wanted to keep him away from Terence Crawford, because they knew he struggled with guys who can move. You know, he struggled with guys who can move. So they knew that could be a problem. They knew it could be a problem. So, but yeah, keep foot speed and hand speed could be a problem. But I think Errol jab. I don't think Keith Thurman can't take away Errol jab. And I think late in that fight, I think Errol was starting to pull away in that fight. The problem with Keith, and what the biggest difference with what Crawford did with Keith, what Keith would do, Keith wouldn't throw no jab. Especially not that type of jab. So he would try to come over the top to counter Errol jab. You know, and he would try to counter Errol when he go to the body, when he throw that left to the body. Keith gonna let Errol move him off the spot, but he will come back and try to counter him. But Keith don't throw the combinations. He don't throw the jab. He don't throw the straight right. It took him all day to learn to throw the straight right versus Manny Pacquiao. When he started throwing the straight right hand, it had some pop to it. It was popping Manny Pacquiao head back, but you know, still, you know, Errol and Keith is still an interesting matchup, if not more interesting now than ever. With Errol Spence coming off a loss, you know, obviously it's not at the pinnacle of their careers, but I do think I'll kind of still would favor Errol slightly, depending on how he come back. But to me, it's starting to kind of look like that Al was kind of protecting Errol from fighting Keith Thurman. And I said this before the fight. I said it probably was smart for Errol to take on Keith Thurman, to use him as, you know, to kind of get you know, as practice, to try to get, you know, ready for a fleet-of-foot fighter like Terence Crawford. Get ready for the speed and athleticism, but they didn't want to take that chance because they probably felt that Keith Thurman, you know, could have upset the apple cart. Then you going through a rematch, and then Bud got to wait another year and all that stuff. So, you know, maybe they thought Keith Thurman was too dangerous of a tune-up matchup. You know, he carried power, he carried speed, and Errol Spence couldn't deal with the movement and the slickness of Terence Crawford. But now, you know, Keith Thurman don't have that defense. He don't throw combination punches. He don't throw the jab. He would try to come over the top and counter Errol Spence's jab. That's exactly what he would try to do. And I just understand in a Pacquiao fight, how you fight a southpaw and you leave your straight right hand, you know, at home for the first half of that fight. That's what I was just trying to figure out. But I think more now than ever, Errol and Keith is interesting. It's interesting. Very interesting. You know, maybe that's something that they should consider, moving up in weight. You know, maybe one of them getting the belt, or both of them trying to get a belt and doing that. you know. But I do think, you know, after what we've seen, depending on what if Errol can come back or not, that's a competitive fight. Keith said, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how, you know, Errol dealt with the, you know, Crawford's game. Crawford had more than just athleticism. It was precision. It was a great game plan. It was great defense. You know what I'm saying? He was strong. So, but I still think Keith Thurman and Errol Spence just got more interesting. I think Keith Thurman, and when that fight started to be first been made of, I favored Keith Thurman. But Errol Spence is still a prospect. And Errol started coming on hot. I favored Errol Spence. Right now, it might be a dead 50-50 fight. Depending on physically where Errol is when he come back and mentally. Because all of a sudden, Errol just got to just talking about, he went from strap season, man down, strap season, the big fish. Then it went from all of that. Then it went to, I just need some money. I want the money. I never told you that, Brian. I want the money. So he got to just talking about the money. And when money is the main motivator, you know, in a sport like boxing, and not titles and other goals, assisted by other goals and titles, no, you kind of lose the love for it, bro. You really do. So, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and the subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications, increase your chance to get notifications. We go live or drop video. Financially want to support the channel. Cash App, $ CJ Good 313, Venmo CJ Good 313, PayPal link in the description. Hit the link tree. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the whole nine. My link tree is the first link in the description. I'm on Kick. I gotta update the description in the link tree. Put Kick in there. It's a new streaming platform like Twitch. You can go support me over there, Goodfella_TV. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all. One time for one time. Check out the Welterweight Boxing Talk playlist out. Peace.